Alright mates, how's it going? In today's video, episode 6 of Blood and Honour by Chris Metzen. Let's go! It took until nightfall for Tirion and his escort to arrive back in Mardenholde Keep, and it had pissed it down with rain the entire journey, so the whole group was pretty tired and in sour moods. But as Arden turned to look at Tirion and saw his former lord slumped over his saddle with drooped shoulders and his head bowed in despair, he realised that he probably didn't have it quite so bad. Although, seeing his former lord in such a state was pretty heartbreaking. Some of Tyrion's advisors then started to gather at the main gate, so Arden rode up to them. "What's wrong with the lord?"
"There's been some changes."
"What do you mean, Captain? Where have you both been these past few days?"
"Our Lord Tirion has been found guilty of treason against the Alliance. The High Court has ordered that he be exiled."
"What? Surely you must be mistaken." The advisor stared Arden right in his eyes and immediately realised that he was not, in fact, mistaken.
"It can't be."
"Well, who's our lord now, Arden? Who will rule over Hearthglen?" At that, Arden shook his head and scoffed to himself.
"Bartholus will be our new lord, for the time being."
At that revelation, the advisors also looked pretty disappointed and annoyed.
"I want the guards to stay on alert tonight. Tirion is to remain here under house arrest. At first light, I'll take a party of footmen and escort him to the border. Until then, neither of us are to be disturbed. Is that clear?"
The advisors nodded, and then watched with sadness in their eyes as Captain Arden returned to Tyrion's horse, grabbed the bloke, and ushered him inside.
"Thanks for the help, Arden. This has been difficult. I just want you to know that you've been a good friend to me. I'm sorry for all of this. If there's anything you need, let me know."
And with that, the captain buggered off, leaving Tirion alone outside the door to his private chambers. He was shaking, overcome with emotion and a gnawing emptiness in his gut. He really did not want to face his wife and tell her what he'd done. 'Twas ironic, really. After all the years he'd refused to lie to her, he now found he couldn't bear to tell her the truth. But he couldn't just stand out here in the corridor the entire night. It was time to be a man. So he pushed the door open and stepped inside. "Tirion, what happened? Where have you been?"
"I accompanied Lord Dathrahan back to Strathholm."
"Well, thanks for letting us know. You really need to stop sneaking off, darling. If I didn't know you any better, I'd start suspecting you were seeking comfort with another woman." There was a teasing tone to Carandra's voice. She knew his honour was so important that he'd never do such a thing. But as she examined her husband and saw the super serious dead look in his eyes, she straightened. "What's wrong?"
"Is the boy asleep?"
Carandra frowned and nodded. Now she was definitely concerned.
"I don't quite know how to tell you this, my love, but I've been branded a traitor and stripped of my titles."
Carandra's eyes widened in shock, so that's why he looked so defeated and deflated. She'd never seen him look this way before, and it frightened her immensely. So much so that she went from shock to denial pretty quickly and started shaking her head. "No. No. No."
"Do you remember the secret I kept from you? The orc I fought? He saved my life, Carandra. If it wasn't for him, I would have been crushed by a collapsing tower. To repay him, I vowed on my honour to keep his existence secret."
Carandra continued shaking her head. She didn't want to hear any of this, but Tirion carried on anyway.
"I was forced to hunt the orc down under direct orders, but when it came to capture him, my conscience overtook me. I fought to free him, to uphold my honour, and I was arrested on the spot."
Tirion finished, and the two of them stood in silence for quite a while, until eventually Carandra arrived at the anger stage of her grief.
"What were you thinking? Orcs are beasts, Tirion. They have no concept of honour. You gambled all of our lives on a stupid, silly whim."
Tirion said nothing in response, simply stood there with his head bowed in defeat, the sight of which only really made Carandra more furious.
"What happens to us now, Tirion? Did you even consider that whilst you were playing the martyr?" "I've been exiled, Carandra. I'm to be escorted to the border at first light." "Exiled? Light damn you, Tirion. I told you your precious honour would be the end of us. Without honour, everything we have is meaningless."
Carandra went ahead and waved that nonsense away dismissively.
"Will your honour keep us fed? Keep our son decently clothed? How can you maintain this senseless obsession in the face of what's happened? What happened to the responsible man I married? I've always been this way, Carandra. Don't talk to me as if it's any surprise. You knew marrying a paladin would demand certain sacrifices. Sacrifices? I held my tongue every time you rode off to battle. I sat here alone for countless hours, unsure if you were dead or alive. Do you have any idea what that was like? I never complained once. All those times you left us for your duties, I knew you had a job to do, had people counting on you. But I counted on you too, damn it. I know all about sacrifices, Tirion. But this time, the price is too high.
Tirion already knew the answer to his next question, but he went ahead and asked it anyway.
What do you mean? I love you, Tirion, but I won't be coming with you. And neither will Talon. I will not have our son grow up as an outcast, or be subject to ridicule for the rest of his life. He doesn't deserve that, and neither do I.
It was at that moment that Tirion felt like his life now basically had zero meaning whatsoever. Losing the light was devastating enough, but losing his family...
I understand, Karandra. Are you certain this is what you want? You've ruined your life. I will not hold on while you plummet to the bottom and ruin ours as well. I hope your precious honour keeps you warm at night. Karandra, wait.
However, Karandra did not wait. She buggered off, slamming a door behind her and locking it. Tirion then spent the next long while just kind of staring into space. His head was all over the place. However, in that daze, the former paladin then found himself walking towards his reading room, sitting down at his desk, grabbing a piece of parchment ink and a quill, and scribbling down a whole bunch of thoughts. Several hours later, Tirion put the quill down. He'd finished his letter. It was now only about an hour before sunrise. So he got up from his desk and walked to his son's room. The boy was still fast asleep, snuggled in his little blanket, doing a cute high-pitched snore thing through his stupid little nostrils. With a shaky hand, Tirion reached into his pocket and retrieved the letter he'd just spent hours writing and put it in a secret safe place. Perhaps someday the boy might understand what I've done, he thought.
Goodbye, my son.
However, just as he saddled Mirador...
This is the second time I've caught you trying to sneak off, Tirion. I figured you'd try something like this. Are you here to stop me, Arden? Even if I had a mind to, I doubt I could. I sat up all night thinking about what you said at the trial. I think perhaps I understand. You were only doing what you believed to be right. I can't condemn you for that. I need to ask you a favour, old friend. It's the most important thing I've ever asked of you. Whatever is in my power to do, I will do. Watch over them for me, Arden. Keep my wife and boy safe. I will.